We do have a serious topic we're dealing with tonight, dealing with debt. And our first question comes to us from Brad. And Brad's question simply says, I haven't worked in 6 months and I'm way behind in my mortgage payments. I have a mortgage and a second mortgage line of credit on my home. I have no savings or other assets of value. So which would be the best route for me to go, either Chapter 7 or Chapter 13? So Alex, what say ye to Brad's concerns?
Well, first off, thanks for the question, Brad. And it's a good one because it's a very common problem right now with the pandemic, the COVID-19. A lot of people either lost their jobs for a period or had their hours cut, a lot of things. And if you don't have your normal income, it's hard to keep up with your mortgage payment. In this situation, if you want to keep your house, you're going to have to file a Chapter 13. Chapter 13 is basically for a wage earner that has a steady source of income, may have fallen behind, gives you the right to catch up your payments while you're concurrently making your regular mortgage payment. Now, sometimes it just depends if it's worth doing based on the value of the house and if there's any equity or not. I mean, a lot of times it looks like you have 2 mortgages. A lot of times the amount of debt is a lot more than the actual value of the house, and it may not be worth keeping. And the avenue for that would probably be Chapter 7. You could surrender the house and all the debt that came with it. But you know, this is kind of like I always like to say, fact specific. So you probably need to come talk to me and we could dig into it a little more, but I appreciate the question.
And you know what, that's very important. I think, you know, anyone who has a question, if they can get in to see your personal attorney, that's always a good idea. And having said that, Marty, I mean, are the courts open yet? Can people go to court or can they even come into your office to visit you?
They definitely can come into our office and visit us, and we can definitely still file pleadings with the courts. We're moving depositions along. There's still a stay on jury trials, but we're hoping that's going to open back up. But we are starting to see some of these problems, and Brad's question actually kind of segs into a good question that, you know, Alex could address, that we have a lot of clients ask us or the difference between a 7 and a 13 and how that might affect claim they have pending or a possible case. And Alex, you could probably touch on that some.
I certainly can. I think this question gets asked every show I appear on, and it's a hard one because I could literally talk about it for 5 hours. But the main difference in the Chapter 13 and Chapter 7, Chapter 13, you have a steady wage. You may make too much to file a Chapter 7, and there's a median income that's set by the census. You'd have to look into with your attorney. But Chapter 13, you're usually behind on something, whether it be a mortgage, a car payment, tax debt, and you need to catch up on it, you know, through a 3 to 5 year plan. So of course it lasts a little bit longer. Chapter 7 is more of a straight bankruptcy. You basically file that, it's quicker, you know, 6 months. And if you have no equity, you don't own any property worth over a certain level, you can just get your debt discharged. Also, like we were talking about with Brad, if you have a house that's just basically underwater, it's a good opportunity to kind of rid yourself of that. You surrender the house to the mortgage company and that debt gets discharged. But I call the Chapter 7 mainly the fresh start bankruptcy. But anyway, that's a good question, Marty. And of course, I'm going to say it probably 100 more times, but it's fact specific. So give me a call and we'll get into it more, you know, if someone has an issue like that.